Everyone, we are live this morning on The Record.
I think voters have gotten a pretty good sense of what I'm about over the course of the past 4 years. I mean, I've said I'm a moderate Republican.
Governor Charlie Baker taking nothing for granted with early voting underway as he works for his second term in the corner office.
I want to be a governor who people see is working with a sense of urgency to make a difference in their day-to-day lives.
Baker's Democrat challenger Jay Gonzalez says that he would lead the Commonwealth with more urgency and advance bigger ideas. We will talk to both candidates live this morning and on The Record special, the Massachusetts governor's race, and 9 days to go until Election Day.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Very good morning to you, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. Thank you for joining us this morning. As we just said, with 9 days to go until the election, we are live this Sunday with the two men who argue that they are the best equipped to run the Commonwealth. We're going to begin with the Swampscott Republican, Governor Charlie Baker, who was live at Mull's Diner this morning in South Boston. Governor, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Governor, it sounds like a big crowd behind you. Lots of people there, lots of voters.
This place is always absolute madhouse, always.
Unfortunately, we're going to start on a very serious issue. Everyone is sort of reeling from that shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue where 11 people were murdered by a lone gunman. This is what President Trump had to say just hours after the horrifying massacre.
But this is a case where if they had an armed guard inside, they might have been able to stop him immediately.
First, your reaction to the president's remarks, but more importantly, who did you reach out to after the shooting, and what can you tell us? What can you tell voters about our safety here in Massachusetts?
Well, after the shooting, the first thing we did was reach out to our colleagues in local law enforcement and to make clear to them that if they needed anything from us with respect to their own work around providing protection and security to houses of worship here in Massachusetts, to let us know. And I also called a number of leaders in the Jewish community, first of all, to express our outrage and our horror at what happened, and to say that there's anything we could do to help them, for them to let us know. And I certainly plan to attend the vigil today, and I know many members of our administration do as well. With respect to the president's comments, you know, we have a hate crimes task force which has leaders from most of the denominations here in Massachusetts, as well as people from communities of color, and we talk quite a bit about what we can do to deal with these issues. And the overwhelming message from them, most of the time, has to do with doing a better job of communicating with one another, a better job of pursuing and following on a preemptive basis any concerns that people have in their community, raising the state of awareness associated with hate crimes generally, and I don't think the president's comments with respect to that are particularly helpful. I think this is a point in time when people need to come together, and we need to continue to plan and ensure that we're doing everything we can here in the Commonwealth to keep people safe.
Governor, I'd like to shift the conversation now, Governor, to the Merrimack Valley if we can. Charging mismanagement and poor communications, about 40% of Columbia Gas customers who lost service are still without heat and gas as it gets cold. Yesterday, I'd love for you to listen to what they had to say. Yesterday, they lashed out at company officials at a packed meeting. Here's what they said.
Tell us like it is. We're big people here. We're all grown-ups. We can take it.
I would like to know from you guys how you expect us to enjoy a Thanksgiving dinner on a two-burned hot plate.
So, Governor, here's the question. The company has now moved the date of full restoration from November 19th to probably mid-December, the 16th. Is this okay with you?
Well, look, I think there's a tremendous amount of frustration out there. I hear it all the time when I'm up there, and I feel it myself. But it's important to remember that most people said that Columbia would never get the 50 miles of mainline pipe in place in 60 days. They're pretty much done with that. The service line hookups, people said, would be hard to get done. That's going to finish on time and on schedule. I've walked through one of the parks up in Lawrence with the mayor up there, where we have sort of temporary housing for people. There are literally thousands of units of housing that have been secured. And there are thousands of families that are currently occupying those housing units and apartments and RVs and hotels with transportation provided for the most part by Uber and Lyft. And boy, oh boy, do I get the inconvenience that's associated with all this. But I think one of the things I would say to people is no one's ever tried to do this house-to-house restoration before. And I think some of the adjustments that have been made by the team that's been put in place to deal with that will speed the process up, and we do expect that most folks up in that area, sometime between the 2nd of December and December 16th, will have heat and hot water in place, and people will come back if they need to replace the furnace or the boiler after that. But this has been a 24/7 exercise, and boy, we know people are frustrated. We're frustrated. Right. But we have to make sure that we're safe about how we do it, and that it gets done right, and the credentialed people are doing the work, and that's exactly where we're going at this point.
Should Columbia Gas be worried about a possible lawsuit from the state?
Look, I think in the short term, everybody's focus is on restoration, as it should be. And we've spent a lot of time talking to people up there, to the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor, the town managers, sort of all the folks up there. And they really want the focus right now to be on making sure that people move swiftly but safely to get people's heat and hot water and their power restored. We've said to the folks at Columbia, they need to save every document associated with everything associated with this. We're cooperating with the NTSB on their investigation into the root causes of this. And we also have a significant amount of work that's being done through the DPU to ensure that there's a moratorium for Columbia Gas doing any work up in that area. And I think in many ways, there'll be plenty of opportunities for fees, fines, penalties, suits, and all the rest. But in the short term, the big issue, as you point out to most people, is the heat and hot water question.
Let's move to a political issue. Your former campaign driver, James McGinn, who you recently fired as head of the Environmental Police, is under review for his pension eligibility. Yep. Do you think he should lose it?
I'm sorry, Janet, could you repeat the last part of that?
I just said your former campaign driver, James McGinn, who you recently fired as head of the Environmental Police, is under review for his pension. Do you think he should lose his pension?
Well, certainly Colonel McGinn did a series of things that we all deemed as inappropriate and used extremely bad judgment. And I support the decision that was made by Secretary Beaton to fire him. The Ethics Commission, to whom all the information associated with this particular investigation was referred, is going to have to issue a ruling with respect to anything they think needs to be done to follow up on this. And anybody in the law enforcement community who wants access to either the investigatory report or other information to pursue any other means, that's available to them. And also in addition to that, the State Retirement Board will have access to any information they need if they need to make a decision as well.
So you're not weighing in on his pension?
I think that's up to the State Retirement Board. I don't equate bad judgment and a series of bad decisions to what took place at the State Police. State Police, people literally forged documents, put money in their pockets, stole from the taxpayers, stole from the toll payers, allegedly. And if those folks are deemed guilty, I do believe they should lose their pensions. I think this issue is one that's different, and I think it's up to the various entities that are in place to make these decisions, to make the call. We'll give them whatever information they need to do that.
Governor, what has Jay Gonzalez said during this campaign that you've taken the biggest exception to?
I'm sorry, Ed, I didn't get that.
I understand. What has Jay Gonzalez said during this campaign that you have taken the biggest exception to?
I think one of the things we're most proud of is the fact that we took on a series of issues that most people left lying for years. We're the ones that fixed all the horror stories and all the trouble at Bridgewater State Hospital, for example. We were the ones who took a broken Department of Children and Families and turned it around, put $150 million into it, hired hundreds of social workers and other support and clinical staff, and righted the ship there. We're the ones that fixed the broken health connector that we inherited when we took office and made it possible for literally hundreds of thousands of people to be safe and secure that their health insurance was going to be there for them when they needed it. And we're the ones that led the country with respect to the way we're dealing with the opioid epidemic. This was an epidemic for a while. There's plenty of literature and research that was done in retrospect that makes very clear that this was a raging problem from a public health and a safety and a life point of view for years before we took office. We're the ones that took it on. We're the ones that created a program around prevention, education, treatment, and recovery to deal with it. We're one of a very small number of states that have actually seen a decline in our death rates. We built the coalitions to chase this issue and to chase it hard. There's a ton of work left to do, but if you look at what most other states are doing on this issue, they took their lead from us. And the final thing I'll point out, we're the ones that basically made offshore wind viable economically. People were shocked at the price point that we got when we put that contract out to bid. And we now have people in Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, all the way down the coast who suddenly discovered the opportunity associated with deep water offshore wind, which is going to be a big win for our clean energy community and a big win in moving away from fossil fuels. I think we've taken on some very big and difficult issues, and they're ones that many other people either ignored or chose not to pursue because they were too tough.
Governor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Enjoy your breakfast.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Governor Baker joining us live. That's just part one. We're going to be back in just a minute with our live OTR special for part two. Our guest is Democrat challenger Jay Gonzalez live, who is live in Dorchester right now. Gonzalez is a former healthcare executive, once served as the Administration for Finance Secretary in the Patrick administration. We'll be right back.